The process has to be conscious, or it will not be carried out with sufficient precision. But it also has to be unconscious, or it would bring with it a feeling of falsity and hence of guilt. To tell deliberate lies while genuinely believing in them, to forget any fact that has become inconvenient, and then, when it becomes necessary again, to draw it back from oblivion for just so long as it is needed, to deny the existence of objective reality and all the while to take account of the reality which one denies. All of this is indispensably necessary. That was from George Orwell, from the writings 1984. We live in a dirty and dangerous world. There are some things the general public does not need to know and shouldn't. I believe democracy flourishes when the government can take legitimate steps to keep its secrets, and when the press can decide whether to print what it knows. That was taken from the words of Katharine Graham, former owner of the Washington Post. So many times when looking at the ills of mankind, we become happy with ourselves, when we strike at the symptoms instead of the causes. I am of the opinion that learning how the world works is a lifelong pursuit. However, I am forever perplexed how many of us are content to engage within the confines of job or career while working feverishly towards the hopes of opportunities to engage in escapism. Escapism via entertainment and or sex. Of course, sometimes sex is entertainment. Worry not, I will not rest here. Often, the problem with contentment with surface attention when commencing an examination is that often we are left in a position which is misdirected, ineffective, and insufficient. Another stumbling block is when we engage occult topics. No, I am not referring to veneration of the biblical Lucifer or Luciferianism. I am referring to the verb definition of occult, which is to hide from view. Of course, this could be supernatural practices. When I refer to supernatural here, I am strictly referring to something which is not subjected to the explanation according to natural laws. If it is not under natural law, then it is neither material or physical. Many things in life are of the occult. Why would that be? Because someone has something to gain by concealing or obscuring to the point of making it imperceptible. It is incredibly sad how portions of our society are either 1, motivated primarily by fear, 2, halted by indifference or lack of education, 3, hoodwinked by what is called a normal bias, or the embracing of partiality that prevents objective consideration. I find the normal bias to be truly insidious, for it allows one to create a placebo effect which is far from inert. It actively works against anything that challenges its mental rule. Certain things are easy to hide in plain sight. I'm sure that we've all found this out as children. The elite know this also, and those who work for them. But this is partly due to our willingness as a collective to cooperate in the exploitation of fellow human beings. One of the ways we make this possible is by denying that there are very powerful influences that seek to gain mastery of people, so it may maintain its privilege and control. I suggest that without reading into something, that if we simply pay attention to the contents of our cognition and our world, that various things which freely surrounds us daily will reveal itself, or at least cause us to produce questions within. Let's look at something simple, like dog tags. We have this metal plate that holds a registration number for our pet. Yet, we also have this military identification tag, also called dog tags. Both the dog and the human wear it around their necks. Pets serve their masters in many ways. mainly two ways: for companionship and entertainment. Now, the military men and women also serves their superiors, which functions as their masters. I suggest that, depending upon the objectives and character makeup of the brass, will determine if these people are seen as entertainment or domesticated animals or hired for possible nefarious purposes. If we consider the words of Henry Kissinger, a man who was definitely and is definitely in the know, a man who served as the diplomat under Nixon and Ford administrations, things become a little more interesting when we consider his words. He stated, quote, "Military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy." Now, this quote can be found in the Kiss the Boys Goodbye, How the United States Betrayed Its Own POWs in Vietnam. Believe me, if I knew of his quote, I would have never served in the military, though I have the highest respect for those who do serve in the military for the correct reasons. And I will allow you to determine what you think I mean by that. If that is not enough, let's consider the words of another influential individual, Barbara Bush. You may remember her appearance on Good Morning America. I think it was back in March 18th of 2003, but don't hold me to that. I may be wrong about that. Please do not be hesitant to make the correction if I have given the incorrect date. She said, quote, "Why should we hear about body bags and deaths? It's not relevant, so why should I waste my beautiful mind on something like that?" This is the wife of a former commander-in-chief. This is a former first lady. This lady has sons that are or have been in positions of government. One of her sons was our president. If anyone should be thinking about our servicemen and women, it should be her and others like her. However, I'm willing to bet that others that are in her immediate sphere of influence probably hold similar thoughts. When we start to connect the dots or pattern recognition, some things become more perceptible. Question: have you ever seriously pondered why television is used the way that it is? Why is it used to flood the minds with useless and potentially harmful images and sounds? If one's thoughts are dominated by a particular subject, meme, or activity which sole purpose is to divert you from the happenings in everyday life and to hold your attention, then would it not make a wonderful tool for psychological warfare, depending upon the intent of the programmer and the technological capabilities, both audio and video? Is it feasible to assume it could aid in maintaining a normal bias, or manipulate, assuming you do not routinely question what you watch, so manipulate your worldview? Does this not become easily understood when people are inclined to repeat that which gives them pleasure? Isn't it easily understood how this could work? And normally people will watch television to become informed regarding something or to engage in entertainment. And commonly their information gathering is in the form of entertainment and is seen as pleasurable. After all, it appears people are willing to finance that which they want to see and hear. I think a solid argument can be made that people want to see and hear things they find enjoyable. So, if you package things in a way which is inviting, seductive, gratifying, ingratiating, sweet, or has the appearance of being charming or delightful, humorous, or pleasant, then the possibility of it selling increases. If you ensure that there is a pleasure button being pushed in the brain while this is occurring, then these auditory signals and visuals can have an amazing impact. So, packaging in many cases is everything. After all, has not politics shown us this? You are fooling yourself if you think politics are all about political affairs. Do you not recall the presidential campaigns of the last 30 years? I am willing to wager that most Americans either were single-issue voters or engaged in some sort of schoolyard antics of popularity or likability. However, I digress. So I encourage you, do not shy away from the occult. I definitely also encourage you to be highly selective about your sources. This is even more important in today's world than it was when I was young. Indeed, the propaganda techniques of targeted emphasis, disinformation, secrecy, evasion, confusion, misdirection, omission of important facts, and selective leaks, which leads to what? Controlled opposition is there to swallow you whole if given the opportunity. I do believe that today's world has shown itself to be true to Huxley's work. It does appear as less things are hidden that mankind is being forced to select between insanity on the one hand and lunacy on the other. If there is one thing I become more increasingly convinced of is this: science is wonderful in helping us to understand our world, and in making our world easier to contend with. There are certain things we don't have to do on a daily basis due to the hard work and effort of men and women within the sciences. However, not all of those men and women are of high integrity. Some of those men and women work under the service of others who rather see us in prison or see us as useless eaters. So what do you think that these scientists will create for their employers? Fair question, is it not? Many of us take the triumphs of chemistry, engineering, and physics for granted. It appears that technology and science was never really meant for the common man. Yeah, it's okay if you profit from it as long as it's within the agenda, right? If anything, it does appear that a sizable amount of the population is enslaved by science, though they may not see it that way. Or I should say, enslaved by those that use science in nefarious ways. I think that statement is definitely fair. One occult unfolding, at least for me, was actually brought to my attention in high school, though I ignored it, and later greeted it within my memory. Finally, it made sense to me. When I read Brave New World for the first time in high school, it made me understand, by giving me certain things to chew on, that it does appear there is a battle between both the sciences of life and the sciences of matter, as well as the will of the scientists themselves. After all, I cannot imagine there would not be a vigorous debate on the introduction of atomic energy when it came into our world, and all of the technology that followed due to that development. Nor can I disengage from the possibility that there would have to be a spirited discussion or many spirited discussions regarding the ethical position that many people who participate within neuroscience would have to have regarding the constructing of technologies that would allow mankind to permanently erase painful memories, or the development of technologies that will address pre-crime predictions or the obvious foe predictive prejudice. As we rapidly creep towards a global, highly centralized totalitarian governments, then maybe one of the major occultic realities will illuminate itself, yet has been hiding in plain sight. And I think that would be that rapid technological changes occurring in a mass-producing economy and among a population which appears to be increasingly drained of their personal property will more than likely lead to the production of a social and economic confusion unlike mankind has ever witnessed before. This only encourages the snake to feed on its tail, as the belt tightens around more totalitarian realities. I leave you with a question. If the power of truth is great, then what of its silence?